I am trying to go live on Instagram too, but I'm not sure it's working there. It's tricky, tricky, tricky. Tricky, tricky, tricky. What are you going to do? Anyway, let's see here. I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Yeah, I can't quite figure it out with the Instagram. I clearly don't have live stream down, but that's okay. What matters is that we have this working good. We've got some people already in the room. I am so sorry I missed last week, guys, but I had COVID. So I was sick as a dog, which I have to tell you, I haven't had COVID in 2 years. I forgot just how debilitating it is. But I am slowly coming back. A little cough left over, a little tiredness, but I think I'll be okay. So, good afternoon, Tina. I'm so glad you're here. All is well. I'm so glad to have you here. So today I thought I would talk about something that I saw that showed up on Twitter. And you guys tell me how you feel about that. But the topic was one of the traders said that they had a losing day. It was a pretty bad day for them, and they commented on being frustrated by it, but not out, right? That they were kind of speaking to how they were going to cope with it. They were, obviously trying to say, like, yep, it really hurt me, crushed me. It did not feel good, but I'm not going to be held back by that. And I love that mindset. And I just want to advocate something that you probably have sort of heard me advocate this before, but I don't know quite as I've been as quite articulate about it as I hope to be today. So what that is learning how to swamp or grieve or mourn a loss. That's something that I don't really hear talked about often, and yet it's actually quite critical to your ability to withstand losses and your ability to withstand life, right? Because life is going to be consistently filled with challenges. Life is going to consistently be filled with heartache and heartbreak and discomfort. And yet I have infrequently seen teachers talk about how to serve the hard to be with feelings. Like, I talk about it all the time, but I don't usually get into the nitty gritty. And that's what I thought I would do today. So as usual, this is a forum for everybody to share what they might want coaching on. So if at any point there's something you're struggling with, wrestling with, dealing with, that you want support around, please put it in the chat box and I'll take that topic on. But I always come with a topic in case nobody puts one in the room. So the word swamp is a word that I actually got from Mama Gina. She was one of my teachers about 15, 14 years ago. Mama Gina runs something called the School of Womenly Arts. It was an intensive, multiple weekend extravaganza that I experienced with her. She is the author of a few books. Number one is her book called Pussy, and it is called, the subtitle is A Reclamation, to really advocate that women get in touch with their bodies and how often we aren't in touch with our bodies. It's an incredible book. So are her other books, namely Mama Gina's School of the Womenly Arts. So not that you guys can't listen to this book, because I have no doubt it would serve you, but I would absolutely encourage all the women listening to read these books of Mama Gina. She does courses now online. She used to do this intensive in-person weekend for like 6 or 8 weeks. And one of her techniques, which, I call it kind of being with what's hard to be with, but she used, obviously, she was an advocate of this technique too. And her name for it was swamping. And I think it's one of the best words because it captures how deep and muddy and dirty we sometimes have to go in our psyche when we're in the middle of having something that's difficult. And part of this, culture can at times be sort of a toxic positivity, this toxic glass half filled culture. And I think it does us all a disservice. I think we have to remember that there's time and a place where grief, where being sad, where being down, where being angry, where being demoralized is needs to be validated. I think part of the challenge is that often when people have these feelings, certainly a trader after having a really hard day, you will find that a lot of people, including friends and family, will try to cheer you up, will try to have you be kind of in this place of like, get over it, just be done with it, don't think about it, focus on the positive things that you have in your life. And I don't think that's healthy, guys. And Raphael Kushner, who's another teacher of mine, he has a number of books that I've talked about. One of them is called The One Thing Holding You Back. And in that book, he talks about how sometimes we just need to sit in the grief of a loss for a period of time that nobody can tell us how long that needs to be. And often what happens is we will resist being in the swamp, being in the pain, being in the discomfort because it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel good. And yet that does us such a disservice because until we can truly grieve, until we can truly let ourselves be with what is disappointing to us, frustrating to us, upsetting to us, again, demoralizing to us, we aren't going to be able to come truly out of it. What I see a lot of traders do and people is they will numb the hard to be with feelings. They will deny that they have these feelings. They will have a tendency to feel like, well, I don't want to be depressed, as if depression isn't human. And this is what the heart of this talk is about, guys. If our culture constantly tells us we have to be up, we have to be in a good mood, we have to smile, we have to be happy, we have to be positive, then we're robbing ourselves from the entire kaleidoscope of what it means to be a human. We're robbing ourselves of the complete kaleidoscope of what it means to be a person who has ups and downs. Now, I'm not taking on the depth of what each person might have for themselves. Certainly, the challenge today is that we hear frequently how depression is so crippling to so many people. But I want to just propose, is it depression or is it our culture and our society's discomfort with depression? Like, there are people who can't hold the space for us when we're depressed. There are people who can't hold the space when we're down. I'm sure you guys have seen this video footage, but Brene Brown actually features it in one of her TED Talks where she shows this little cartoon of a person down in a black hole. And the guy above is looking down saying, come on, here's a sandwich, get over it, distract him, let me talk about this instead. And that person is just in a hole and needs to sit there and feel their feelings. And eventually what they show is that this character comes down into the hole and just sits there with them by their side. And that is what I'm inviting you to consider might be on occasion what you can do with yourself. On occasion, you might actually need to just sit and hold space for yourself. That is what I'm suggesting. And if you have a losing day, if you have a terrible day, if the trades go against you and you are just feeling so kicked to the curb, don't dismiss the pain. Don't try to have a stiff upper lip too quickly. It's okay sometimes to just be down. There's nothing wrong with you. So I'll pause there, see if anybody has anything they want to add or talk about. Jasmine, I'm glad you're here. So give me some input, guys, what your thoughts on this topic are, and also what, if anything, you'd like to have coaching on. All right. Let's see what you guys got. But I really feel passionate about this topic because I feel like a lot of times, especially online, I see somebody express their frustration, their discontent, their upset, and then they try to sugarcoat it, or other people try to sugarcoat it for them and don't allow somebody the full expression of their pain. I'll have to try to find that video. Thank you, Jasmine. I am feeling better. Not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. I'll try to find that video of the Brene Brown example. But ultimately, our ability to have empathy for somebody else when they are feeling, down and out is going to be completely dependent on our ability to have empathy for ourselves. And if there is a part of you who feels like something is bad or something is wrong, if you're feeling down, I want you to switch that thinking around. I want you to know that being depressed, being sad, being angry, being demoralized is part of being human. I have talked to you guys on so many occasions about the needs list, and I've talked about the feelings that we have when needs are fulfilled. But remember, there are a collection of feelings that we each have when we don't have our needs fulfilled. And I'm going to read them to you so you can just identify when this has been the case for you. When we don't have our needs fulfilled, these are the feelings we're going to inevitably have, one or more of them. Angry, irritated, discouraged, reluctant, hopeless, concerned, overwhelmed, frustrated, annoyed, lonely, distressed, sad, impatient, disappointed, puzzled, helpless, confused, nervous, embarrassed, uncomfortable. These are all human feelings, guys. And these feelings have to be felt. You can't think your way out of a feeling. You have to feel your way out of your feelings. All right, Jasmine, what do you have here? After my unexpected divorce, I was devastated, but I really let myself feel the sadness. I'm in a much better mind space now. Jasmine, I'm so sorry for the devastation, and I'm so proud of you for not denying the sadness and allowing yourself to actually grieve it, because that is such an incredible superpower. It will allow those emotions to finally discharge in a way that they otherwise would never discharge. And here's the thing, guys, with feelings, when you don't feel your feelings, they don't go away. They stay lodged inside of your body. Think about all the feelings you have never let yourself potentially feel. They're stuck in there. They're trapped in there. What do you think potentially comes of that? You think it's anything good? It isn't. All right, Tina says, anytime I try to not work through a loss by ignoring it, it has never worked. It actually felt worse. Having someone to talk it out with helps immensely. I'm 100% with you, Tina, and I'm so glad that you spoke about this. And let me give a caveat about speaking with somebody else. I think you have to be incredibly discriminatory in who you choose to share your pain with, because unfortunately, a lot of people, well-meaning people, don't know how to hold space. And I'll give you a quick, Cliff Note version on how to hold space for somebody. It doesn't include you talking about your own pain. That's the number one rule. It doesn't include you saying to them, everything will work out. That isn't helpful to that person in that moment. Ultimately, what they need is somebody to just hold space and say, I hear you. I hear you, over and over again. And one of the cohorts that really struggle with this is men. I'm going to tell you the truth, guys, because you guys are culturally conditioned to problem solve. You guys are taught that that's what your job is to come up with a solution. And that is such a gift to so many of us women. And you have to realize that when that significant other is in pain, they are just needing to vent. They are just needing to discharge. They are just needing to get it off their chest. And to be able to hold the space and just let that person express their pain without troubleshooting it, without problem solving it, is a huge gift. And whenever anybody has pain and you need to discharge it, please try to get all of this clarity about who you're going to vent to done before you're in a crisis situation. I've expressed a few times that I have a very specific friend who can hold the space for me without ever rushing, moving it out, moving it on. It's very hard for most people to do. And I want you to realize that's okay. Most people haven't been taught how to do this for themselves, never mind to somebody else. But you've got to find a friend who can hold the space for you without trying to fix it or, improve it. All right. So I missed a couple of things here. So what did you say, Tina? Okay. They do stay lodged. LOL. Take a dive from the playful rooster and let it out. Absolutely. Those roosters let it out all day long. As you guys know, you hear them all the time. Thomas says, what if the other person you talk to is yourself? Thomas, it's great that you will hold the space for yourself. So what I'm going to ask you is, are you able to hold the space for yourself when it's darkness, when it's pain, when it's difficulty, when it's uncomfortable? And Thomas, I'm also going to say this. We can't always hold space for ourselves. It's a great practice, but in reality, we are social creatures. We need to have community. We need to have a person. So I'm going to recommend, Thomas, that you actually potentially find a way to share with somebody here in our community so that you can have somebody to talk to. Because I don't think, especially when it's really dark, we can just hold the space for ourselves. We're not independent solo humans. We need connection. So ultimately, we do need to have somebody else. And one of the things that Mama Gina actually taught us, and I see there's a couple of other comments, which I'll get to in a second, guys, but I just want to say one of the things that Mama Gina also taught me, that's one of my favorite practices and is specifically spoken about in her book, Mama Gina's School of the Womanly Arts, is a practice she calls spring cleaning. I bet you it's up on her blog. So you could just Google Mama Gina's spring cleaning and you will see her technique. And that is a technique you can teach a friend and practice with them, which is where you basically say, that person will say, what do you want to spring clean on? And that person could say, my trading today. And then that person will just hold the space, promises to never bring it up outside of that conversation again, and promises to do nothing but say thank you what do you have on your trading? So it's a constant repetition of holding the space. So I'm going to do it with myself for you guys to have a sense right now. So if I was doing it with somebody and they said, Kim, I want to spring clean up my trading, I would say, okay, for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, a half hour, an hour, 3 minutes, whatever it is, you come up with that time. The person who holds the space watches the clock, and then you say, okay, what do you have on your trading? Well, today I XYZ, and they discharge it. That person will say, thank you. What do you have on your trading? And that person will go again. Thank you. What do you have in your trading? And it will go on like that with no other comment from me, holding the space for that person who's spring cleaning for as long as they said. And then I will watch the clock and I will say to them at the end, okay, you have time for 3 more pulls. What do you have on your trading? And that person will say they're 1 and then 2 and then 3. And then that's it. Thank you for doing your spring cleaning with me. Thank you. The thing is over. No more conversation. You don't go back and troubleshoot. You just hold a space for that person to dump it all out. Then one day you'll need them to hold the space for you to spring clean, and you will do the same in turn. It is a game-changing exercise. It is a life-changing exercise because it cleans out all the cobwebs from the corners of the bookshelves in your mind, all the little tiny corners. It is game-changing. You could do it with paper if you had to, Thomas, but I'd still rather try to find a person you can do it with. All right, let's see what Technics Pro says. Thanks for being patient. Kim, I've always struggled with never believing in myself and always thinking I cannot achieve certain things. And when I end up doing well and achieving something good, I still don't believe in myself. Technics Pro, I am sorry to hear that this is the case. And what I want to say to you is that is you being in the grips of gremlin. That is you being in the grips of an inner saboteur who is telling you that you will not ever be able to accomplish anything. That has to be identified within you for you to be able to get free of it. Inner gremlins, inner saboteurs are part of being human. A lot of these inner gremlins, inner saboteurs get birthed in our youth when we are navigating our family of origin. Usually these saboteurs and inner gremlins have been telling us the story for many, many years, often decades. The key here, Technics Pro, is that you are going to need to probably get Taming Your Gremlin, which is a book I advocate all the time. Why? Because that book will help you start to separate your voice from its voice. There's usually more than one gremlin. There's usually a busload of gremlins. I'm getting the book off my shelf now. And part of the reason I want you to get this book, and I want you also to watch my interview with the author. His name is Rick Carson, because until you get freed from believing what that voice says, thinking that that voice is you, you say right here in your little message to me, Kim, I've struggled with never believing in myself. You believe in yourself, but you can't hear that because your gremlins are so freaking loud. Someone that looks a lot like that in your imagination is telling you you're not worthy to be believed in. And until you get that identified, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to get set free of that voice. So my suggestion to you is to get this book, watch my interview with the author, Rick Carson, on my podcast, and then come back. But stay in these conversations on Wednesday, because the more you talk about it, the more other traders talk about it, the less alone you'll feel, and you'll realize you're not the only one. Jasmine says, I don't have friends at the moment in person that I can share with, but you guys always hold a space for me here. Jasmine, I'm so glad. Thomas, I think the two of you, Jasmine and Tom, should get together. Just do it. You can, if you guys aren't in my Discord room, we'll figure it out. But I think it's really important for you guys to always have somebody to literally talk to. You guys can set the agenda. You can set the boundaries. Heck, we can do it now, even on just trying to think what I'm just trying to think where you guys could come together. Let me think here. WhatsApp. You guys could do a WhatsApp, for God's sake. But I think it's really important. And I think spring cleaning, Jasmine and Tom, if you guys both agreeable to do spring cleaning with one another, will be profound. And I'll get you guys the specific directions so you guys can hold the space for each other. But that exercise is so profound that I can't say enough good things about it. All right, Eric, holding the space is spectacular and sensational. Thanks to all. I think holding space is one of the best gifts you could give to another. Good. I'm just looking at some of them. Tina, thank you. I'm glad you recommend the Rick Carson interview. I think it's so important. Here's the thing, guys, and Eric, I'm so glad you said that. Holding the space for somebody. Do you know what that is? What that is giving a person your presence. Marshall Rosenberg, the creator of nonviolent communication, he actually says the greatest gift you could give to another person is your presence. It's so rare to have somebody just be present to you, not with an agenda, not with wanting to fix it, not with trying to sugarcoat it, just sitting, holding space, paying attention to you, not multitasking, not on their phone while they're listening to you, not doing 3 things at once, but just sitting and being present to you. And you could do that without even looking at somebody. You can focus sometimes without even looking on somebody sometimes and give them your attention. You all know when somebody really listens to you, really deeply listens to you, it is the most unbelievable feeling in the universe because it's so rarely done. Most people aren't listening to just be with what you said. They're listening to wait until they can jump into the conversation and share whatever's going on for them. Infrequently are people able to just fully be present to you. And the other thing that drives me crazy is when you're talking to somebody and they put you on a hold to take another call. That's the ultimate of not being present to somebody. Like if you're talking to somebody, talk to them, listen to them. Don't interrupt them for somebody else. That tells that person somebody else is more important than you are. And that doesn't feel good for anybody's sake. Even if it's something urgent, most things can wait. Most times something is not urgent. On occasion, yes, there's a crisis. You got to go. You got to put the person on hold or tell them you'll call them back. But rarely is that the case. And yet this is done today like willy-nilly. People do it to each other all the time. If you're ever on the phone with me, unless there is some kind of life and death emergency, I am never going to tell you to hold while I take another call because it's just not an exercise in being present to another person. All right, Eric says, I want to add presence and time. Encouraging words go a long way when you miss a trade by minute. And there are Johnny-come-latelys all the time. Funny thing, I'm always on time, just not with trading. Well, look, again, everything we always want to be curious about. I'm an advocate for being on time. I, too, for the most part, am on time. Infrequently, I won't be, but for the most part, I am. I've been really late to yoga lately, which is hilarious. But on Sunday mornings, I love going to this early morning yoga class. And for like 4 weeks in a row, I had something happen, like to our website and business related with, a processing of a client's charge or something where I kept being late to yoga class. I think my yoga teacher was like, what the hell? I'm like, I am so sorry. I don't know why this keeps happening. But here's the thing, in all things moderation, Eric. So this is my thought, is it possible that maybe you give yourself a little flexibility outside of your trading with being on time, and perhaps it's an equilibrium that the timing in your trading will be different. I think at the end of the day, we have to realize that we are going to always be humans. We're always going to be fallible, guys. We can't expect ourselves to be perfect. And even me being late to that yoga class, that was really frustrating for me because I do like to be on time. I feel it's me being my word, right? Being on time is me being my word. And these were things that were beyond my control that came up that I had to tend to because of the priority of my clients. So there are times where you want to keep this in mind. Like I was upset and frustrated and embarrassed, right? Because I also was late to the whole class and other people are interrupted. So you want to keep this in mind that like I had to forgive myself. I had to let myself off the meat hook and be like, okay, I'm late. I have, regardless of good reason or not, I am late and I'm going to have to be able to not beat myself up for it. So yes, yoga in Hawaii is pretty epic, I have to say. I don't do it on the beach, although some people do it on the beach. I do it in a little beautiful yoga studio that has the most gorgeous view of a forest behind it. But yeah, yoga on the beach is hard, actually. You're not as balanced on the sand. But anyway, it is pretty epic. Hawaii is pretty epic. I would agree with you. All right. So I went off on a tangent there. Tell me if you guys have anything you want to specifically talk about, as usual. Ready to take that on. But I just want you guys to really get that, first of all, if you don't have an alliance with somebody who you can do spring cleaning with, I really hope you guys will somehow match up here in the room. Get yourself on WhatsApp, find a way to discharge there if you can't talk literally over the phone. But being able to hold space for somebody and have them hold space for you is a absolutely healing process. It can make a great deal of difference. And it's not that complicated. You just come up with a time frame you're going to stick to. You watch the clock. As you do hold the space for that person, you never bring up anything they tell you in their spring cleaning outside of the spring cleaning. You keep their confidence and you don't offer advice later on when it's over. You just mum's the word. You say, thank you. What do you have on this? What do you have on that? And you just hold the space for that. And that's it. And sometimes a person will talk a lot and answer one question. Let them go as long as they need to. They have as long as their time runs out. And what you want to do then is the same for that person. Sometimes it's in that moment. Sometimes you come back to it at another point. All right. So I'm going to pause and see if anybody has anything they want to address. All right. Nobody has anything they want coaching on. This is so much more effective and better, guys, when there is more to speak to. Nobody has a challenge here or an issue. All right. So what I'm going to say is just for the heart of this matter is learning how to serve, learning how to be with hard to be with feelings. And what I want to say about that is it can initially be difficult because it will kick up physical discomfort in our body. And I guess what I want you all to know is that that is normal and there's nothing wrong with that. And I want you to start to realize that feeling a physical discomfort is part of the experience of processing hard to be with emotions. If you guys aren't allowing those hard to be with emotions to come up for yourself, it's going to cost you big time, because those hard to be with emotions aren't as debilitating as you think they are. In the beginning, it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to be with this, Kim. Oh my gosh, this is so uncomfortable. My heart rate might be my heart might be pounding. My eyes might be dilated. I might start sweating. I might start to feel a headache. I might start to have back pain. I might start to have a physical sense of contraction. All of this is part of the expression of that feeling, the expression of that emotion moving through you. Don't be afraid of it. Let yourself feel it, even if it's for a few seconds, even if it's for a minute. You don't want to take yourself to tilt, but a couple of steps before tilt. You want to be able to let it move up and out, because what happens is most of us keep it locked up, keep it trapped inside, and that is not in your best interest. All right, Eric says, timing is my biggest issue. I need to explore it more. The quick 10-minute trades are the worst. I've avoided them for now. They are FOMO. It sounds like FOMO for you. So Eric, the timing is interesting. I almost want to invite you to consider not trading one day and instead keep track of the triggers that would make you trade, the quick 10-minute trades that, and or wherever the timing is showing up for you. What I would like to see you do is not trade one day and take notes on all the places you would have traded if it was a normal trading day. What you have to do is start to understand what the trigger is that's beneath these, the timing being off. Your timing, that tells me there is some kind of motive informing you not staying in the best timing. So I would like, if you could, for at least a period of time, watch and observe all the triggers that happen to you without trading, so that you can start to get really clear on what motives are driving you when you would have pulled the trigger. And if you can, maybe you can look back too. Look back on all the moments where your timing was off. What was the motive underneath it? You want to look at what was driving you. It could be easy enough for you to do by asking that question, or you're going to need to get the needs list out and you need to identify, was it efficacy? Was it respect or self-respect? Was it independence? Was it freedom? Was it security you were after? I want to identify what is afoot. All right. Technics Pro says, my main issue in trading at the moment is hesitation on trades and watching it go without me after not executing. So frustrating. It sounds like Jasmine's dealing with that as well. So that is sort of the other side of the coin here, around timing. Your issue isn't so much around the concept of the hesitation. What that tells me is that here's my question first, Technics Pro. Are you 100% confident in your strategy? I have to open my front door because it's super hot here. But that's my question, Technics Pro. And for you too, Jasmine. The question is, are you both 100% sure of your strategy? First, answer that question while I open the front door. It got really hot all of a sudden. Or I still have a fever. Hopefully not the latter, but it's possible. All right, let's sit here. Just put on a little fan. I don't know. It was really chilly this morning here, but now it's really cold. All right. So Jasmine says, okay. So guys, give me your answer. That is my question. My question is, are you guys 100% sure of your strategy? See, this is the thing about not being true to a strategy. I'm not 100%, but I've tested my strategy for a while now. So Jasmine, what is going to get you close to 100%? How far away from 100% are you? Yeah, it's trusting yourself. So yes, you should trust yourself. If you have back tested that strategy, if you are absolutely start out with a risk that is tolerable, something is off. Either your strategy isn't something you have proven to yourself, or your risk is too high. That's what's afoot. Trusting yourself has to be earned, right? That I can't insist upon enough. I feel like if I was profitable, I would trust myself more. Bullshit, Jasmine, not the truth. You are going to trust yourself if your strategy works and you are a woman of your word who does what she says she's going to do. That's going to earn your trust. That's going to earn your trust. You have to earn your trust. And that is not something that the market ever gives to any trader. But the way you earn your trust is watching with appropriate risk to see if your strategy is working or not. Until you sit with what is appropriate consideration of loss. Loss is part of trading, guys. You have to get comfortable with loss. The only way to get comfortable with loss is to have your risk metric accurate. You have to risk something. So yes, you potentially are going to lose money because even the best trades lose, but you have to get clear on whether the strategy is trustworthy. And the only way you're going to find that out, Jasmine, is if you test it. So you have to find an amount that you're comfortable with losing in service to finding out if that strategy does work. All right, Eric says, Jasmine, all right, I'm not sure what that means, Eric, but that's okay. It sounds like you're talking to someone. All right. Technics Pro says, my strategy works most of the time. It's just the confidence and the fear of losing. So Technics Pro, I'm going to push back a little bit and say that I don't think it's confidence and the fear of losing, because a strategy that works most of the time, that doesn't sound that solid to me. I'm not saying every strategy works every single time, but that tells me there isn't enough proof, perhaps, that that strategy is safe. So, yeah, that's what I want to say about that. And I really do want to point you guys to Brian Lee, because he has an incredible risk formula that he talks about on his Twitter handle all the time. And I'm just getting a little piece of candy to suck on because I can feel my throat's just a little dry. So that's what I want to suggest, guys. Check out his risk formula, because that risk formula is so powerful when it comes to measuring what is the appropriate amount of risk. So it was Jasmine, Eric, that you're talking to. Okay. So I think the key here, guys, is that confidence as a trader is something that does have to be earned. And I think it's often that traders think they need to have confidence when it isn't so much confidence, but a tested strategy that they have proven to themselves works. Especially with beginner traders, I think that is a big fallacy, is that, oh, I'm just not confident enough. Often it's you have a really good reason to not be confident enough. And I don't want that to get collapsed with the confidence of becoming a better trader. The key here is that one needs to actually really get clear on whether their strategy works. All right, Eric says, so the concept of being too slow, again, sounds to me like that potentially is an inner gremlin or an inner saboteur. In my experience, when traders start to measure themselves, they're measuring themselves up against people who have been trading for triple, if not quadruple the amount of time. The confidence that sometimes traders are looking for is not something you have yet to secure with good reason. It isn't about, trading isn't just about being confident. It's about earning the right to have that confidence. And that is something that a lot of beginner traders haven't put in enough screen time with to have yet. One of my biggest problems is having my P&L in front of me. I just need to remove it and concentrate on the chart. Hell yeah, you do, Technics Pro. That is the best thing you could possibly say, because that P&L being in front of you every single day is absolutely distracting you from what the market is doing. That is the least of your worries, is your P&L. Obviously, you have to keep track of it. I'm not telling you not to, but to constantly be looking at that means you're not looking at the charts in front of you, not looking at what the market is doing that day. And that is really, really the place that needs all of your attention. I know it sounds crazy, guys, but I can't tell you how many traders are distracted by their P&L or whether they had a red or green day. That tells me you aren't living, working like a true trader, because the true traders do not use those measurements the way a beginner does. And knowing that you're in this for the long haul is part of the key. If you read any of the Market Wizard books, you learn the same thing. You learn from all of these guys that are true veterans that there is a sense of you over time being able to take the red days in stride, take the losses in stride. I've used this quote multiple times that Peter Brandt says in Jack Schwager's book, Unknown Market Wizards. There's a difference between a losing trade versus a bad trade. It's like the most powerful quote. So you guys ultimately want to ask yourselves at the end of your day, if you have taken losing trades, but not bad trades, that is a freaking awesome day. That is better than just your P&L being up that day or a green day. That means you are becoming disciplined. You are becoming trustworthy. You will then start to see your confidence increase, improve. That is huge. The phrase, you can't compare your day 10 to someone else's day 100, comes to mind. It is not a comparison thing as much as a small size until you feel confident. As soon as you can size up is a loss. I don't know if I got the last part, Eric, but agreed. I think the key, I think a lot of times it's easy to say, oh, I'm not confident. And if you're still under 5 years as a trader, I want to say, is it confidence or is it a wise position you're in to not be cocky, to not be in a place where you are constantly comparing yourself to others, and even comparing yourself to perhaps other jobs or positions you've had, or even if Peter Brandt stepped away from trading for like a decade, I think, very close to a decade, and then he decided to come back. His story is incredible. If he came back from being away from trading for 10 years and started to compare himself and how he initially was, he would have self-sabotaged himself. I did Investors Underground coaching today, and one of the things that is was so incredible is one of the traders is changing his style of trading, and he's only been at it 6 months, and he's frustrated with himself, understandably. Nobody's going to make that wrong, but he's also had another style for 3 years. So that sense of self-judgment, that sense of expectation can be so costly because we even compare ourselves to who we were in this field or that field or in another place. And that is just not ideal. You guys need to realize that when you compare, it equals despair. That is common. It's going to continue to happen. And comparing is just, it's such an unuseful pattern to be in. All right, girl trader, I'm changing after talking to you too, Kim. Oh, that's so great, Girl Trade. I was glad to get to meet you today in the IU room. Glad you were there. Thanks for being there. I hope that served you today. I thought it was. I thought we had some great conversation in there today, and very courageous 2 volunteers that we had come in. All right, guys. So please, any challenge you're having, please put it in the comments. I hope that served you, Technics Pro. I'm very curious to see what happens. I, again, want to push back that maybe for you, Technics Pro, and you too, Jasmine, what can you do to become more secure with your strategy? And then let's see if you guys have the confidence. Yes, ma'am, I was the first person in the hot seat with me on IU. I didn't know that. I remember you. Oh my God, I'm so glad. Thank you for being so courageous in the first place. It takes a lot of guts to go on a video camera in front of a bunch of people and have coaching done. So gutsy you from way back when. It's got to be 2 years ago, right? It's been a while. So I'm glad you're here too. All right, guys, what else? What else do you guys want coaching on for today? I have a few minutes left, so please feel free to throw any challenge that you're up to into the thick of it, and I'll take it on. We talked a lot today about the importance of somebody letting themselves feel the hard to be with feelings, to watch out for the culture that we have that tells us all the time that we can't be depressed or be down or be sad or be mad. That taking and stealing these hard to be with unpleasant feelings from us does us such a huge disservice. NFL playbook comes to mind. Everyone needs to create a trading playbook with charts and scenarios and how they pan out or don't. I would agree. All of these are techniques for you to be able to stand even in the midst of a trade that loses. Ultimately, you guys need to get comfortable with losing, because if you aren't comfortable with losing, I think being a trader is going to be very hard for you. The key is that everybody needs to really get that there possibly is a story that is hidden inside of you about what that means when you lose, when you fail, when it doesn't go the way you want it to. And if you don't identify what gets kicked up when you lose, if you don't identify what that inner gremlin, inner saboteur has to say when you lose, when you make a mistake, when you fuck up, you got to get that identified, because that is the dragon. It kind of holds over your head like a dark cloud and potentially takes and tears down your confidence, because people are afraid that they'll be that, whatever that is. And that is so important to identify. Your ability to look a dragon in the eye exponentially increases if you're willing to face the shadow part of yourself. All of us are human. All of us have a shadow side. All of us have old stories, old beliefs that our gremlin constantly speaks about. And the key is starting to hear that story outside of us thinking that that story is true. All right, Steve G., welcome to this conversation. I have learned to trade in the market and not assume, as well as hold on to a loss. Holding on to a loss clouds what the market is telling you. I would agree with you, Steve, but I think part of the challenge with that is that when somebody holds on to a loss, it's because there is something more costly they don't want to be with than even a loss of capital, namely the ego that is saying you are not worthy. There is very few things that can make us feel more afraid of losing money, but shame is one of them, guys. If we can't be with the shame we put ourselves through when we make a mistake, then you will double down even on a mistake to avoid, even for 1 second longer, that hard to be with feeling, that hard to be with emotion called shame. And that is why it's so important for you to understand, what is loss mean for you? What's the story you have about losing? What's the story you have about failing? You have to totally consider this. Yes, Steve, I have roosters galore here. I'm in Hawaii, and I have this beautiful office park where we're just inundated with roosters and chickens and new baby chicks every day. And I've done everything I can to have these guys caught. There's a lack of chicken catchers in these parts. So if anybody wants to have a thriving business, small business in Hawaii, come to the Big Island and start catching all these damn roosters and chickens, huh? Yep, there it is again. It's agreeing. It wants to be caught. So somebody get here and start a $1 billion company, because I can't tell you how many people want their damn roosters gone. All right, let's see here. I have to come out of this to just see what was said. I missed a couple of things here. All right, let's see here. What if the dragon is Puff the Magic Dragon? Eric, I wish it was Puff the Magic Dragon, but rarely do I find that those dragons are that. Girl Trader says, I want to mention that I needed to switch my trading style to swing trading because I was developing some unpleasant issues intraday trading. I took a step back and took time off. Good job, Girl Trader. Very proud of you for doing that. Let's see here. Let's see, Girl Trader, I'd feel 1,000,000 times better. You helped me realize that I was being engaged, that I was engaging in an identity of being a day trader, and it was overtaking my life. Good job, Girl Trader. That's huge. I'm working on balance, and these past 2 weeks have been so much better. Incredible. So proud of you. Fantastic. Well freaking done. This is all a journey of self-awareness, guys. If you want to be the best trader you can be the best person you can be. Become self-aware. Start to notice how you're being driven by stories, by old beliefs, by opinions of yourself that may not even be yours, but your gremlins. Oh, you're so welcome, Technics Pro. I'm so glad it's been helpful. Really, really, really good. Good analogy. Roosters and trading. You can use that in coaching clients. Find the business angle. Yeah. I have tried to talk 5 people into having this business just to take the roosters off my property alone. So one of these days, somebody will take it up. Someone actually who lives here and in London, believe it or not, part-time, he had to do it for his property. He got an air gun. He got like really good at target practice, and he's taken out all of his the chickens and roosters on his property. So I'm ready to hire him. I don't know if he's for sale, he's for hire, but I'm gonna say, come and help me out here in my office. I live up on a mountain where it's too cold for the chickens, luckily, but I have them down here all the time at my office. All right, so what is today's recap today, guys? Today's recap is learn how to be with the hard to be with feelings. Don't cut yourself off from them. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be uncomfortable with having human feelings like depression, anger, frustration, melancholy. These are all just human emotions. Getting comfortable with them, allowing yourself to have them, is going to set you free. Depression comes when we are avoiding these feelings and push them down. When you feel them, they discharge, they move through us, they move out of us. It's when we refuse to feel them, we cut ourselves off from ourselves. The other thing that I'm advocating today is to try the spring cleaning practice, something coined by Mama Gina. I've suggested a couple of people in this room get together, maybe exchange information, exchange your Twitter handles, and then guys, you can send each other a DM, maybe go on WhatsApp, and then verbally hold the space for a spring cleaning. Spring cleaning is a very powerful technique. It facilitates presence. A person will be present to you. You will then be present to them in exchange. You will not problem solve. You will not fix. You will not give advice. A lot of times it's easy to give advice, guys, even here in this chat room. I don't suggest it. People are coming here for coaching. We don't want to give each other advice without permission. And especially in spring cleaning, we don't want to give advice without permission because it's not the forum for that. Be very diligent with holding space for people without giving them advice. One can always say, I'm sorry going through that. That sucks. That's too bad. But as soon as we go into advice mode, we upend the connection. Unless a person specifically asks for it, unless a person specifically says they want it, only reason I'm giving is because I'm calling this life coaching. So it's a given. But I suggest this to everybody in your personal life, friends, people, colleagues, family members. Just because they call and vent doesn't mean they want you to solve it. Hold the space. I'm sorry going through that. That's too bad. That must be frustrating. I hear you. These are words that you want to get really good with so that you don't go in a place that is not being asked of you. This is very hard, especially for those who had to be caretakers in their childhood. This took me a long time to figure out. And I'm a coach, right? And yet, guys, I can tell you 1,000 times, there are people who want to just share with me, and I will say to them, what is it you want in response? 9 times out of 10, people don't even want coaching. They just want me to hold the space for them. So don't think that is not of value, because it is. But to presume that you can just give somebody your input is a presumption I don't suggest anybody makes, including online, including on Twitter. If somebody's bitching and somebody's upset, hold the space for them without advice, without a solution. That might make you feel uncomfortable. Get curious about that. All right, what else did I talk about today? Taming your gremlin. I suggested this to a couple of, just someone to listen most times. That's it. Most people just want somebody to listen to them. Taming your gremlin. I recommend this to everybody here. If you've already read it, read it again. Do the homework. There's always a gremlin to discover. Also, if you guys don't have the universal needs list, be sure to sign up for that. The needs list is so powerful of being able to identify when you're having hard to be with emotions. That is a game changer. Being able to even name them, being able to even identify what the hard to be with emotions you're having just puts it in a box for yourself. You're like, oh, it's melancholy. Oh, it's anger I'm feeling. Oh, it's frustration. Oh, it's impatience. Oh, it's reluctance. These are all feelings that every human has when needs are not met. Most of us aren't getting our needs met on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what those emotions are, those feelings are before you start a trading day? It's important, guys, because if you don't have it identified consciously, they unconsciously will start to take over your trading. All right. Opinions don't really matter unless they're asked for. I would agree. And even still, after they're asked for, sometimes they don't matter, because opinions aren't the same as what holding space does. Holding space means we're in the presence of somebody and just being with them. I'll have to find this. Name the emotions before the gremlins, maybe then use emotions to fight the gremlin. There's no fighting the gremlin, Eric. The gremlins are always going to win. So the key is to learn how to identify them so that you can learn how to start ignoring them. You'll hear them and then dismiss them, because unfortunately they want us to fight with them. They like the wrestling match, and they can come up with 1,000 different ways to skin a cat. And I promise you, they are too crafty and cunning for us to ever beat them. So the key is just simply noticing them and not getting engaged in the debate back and forth, back and forth. All right, Eric, remember, without permission. So I would say, get this book. Everybody take another read. I told you guys that before I prepared for Rick Carson's interview, I read it again and noticed another gremlin. 20 times I've read this book over the past 20 years, at least once a year, probably some years twice a year. That is the heart of the matter. You want to be always looking for an inner saboteur. And as you guys develop, as you guys up level, you will find that there are other ones that are more down in the basement. All right, I'm going to end it there, guys. Good work today. Great questions. So good to be back. I missed all of you guys. I felt so bad last Wednesday. I was like, oh, I really wish I could go do this. But I couldn't get my head off that pillow. I was just so absolutely exhausted. So be good this rest of this week on your trading. Stay true to your strategy. Vet your strategies so that you can step into confidence. Identify if that confidence is actually wisdom or is it appropriate fear, appropriate hesitation. Just because you're not confident doesn't necessarily mean it's a gremlin. That's a great chicken, Thomas. It could be that you haven't earned the confidence. Your strategy hasn't earned the confidence yet, or your risk is too high. So I'm glad you guys are here. Girl Trader, you never have to apologize about being late. You come when you can come. I appreciate all of you guys. You're all amazing. Steve, I'm so glad you're here too. Everybody, go and be the best trader you can be the best human you can be, and know that I've got your back. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday.